All right, today we're diving into a dog breed that's, well, a total paradox, the Brussels Griffon. They have this absolutely giant personality and an unforgettable face that's been called almost human. But, as we're about to find out, that signature look comes with a hidden and pretty painful cost. Let's get right into it.
And check this out. The official breed standard hits the nail on the head right away. It's this almost human expression that just pulls people in. It's this look that's intelligent, it's alert, it's like they understand every single thing you're saying.
So where did this absolutely captivating little dog even come from? Let's start with their history and unpack the huge personality they've got packed into that tiny body.
The Griffon story starts in the stables of Brussels, where there were these scrappy little dogs, mainly used for catching rats. But their unique look? Oh, that was very deliberate, kind of like a recipe. You can see the blueprint right here. That wiry coat comes from the Affenpinscher. Those big, soulful eyes, that's from the English Toy Spaniel. And the pug? That's where the smooth-coated version comes from. By the 1890s, they'd even charmed their way into the hearts of Belgian royalty, which really cemented their status as a beloved companion.
So, because of that pug in their family tree, the breed comes in two different styles. On the left, you've got the rough coat, with that classic wiry feel and that famous beard. And then on the right, you have the smooth coat, which is all short, glossy, and sleek. But here's the thing to remember. Other than the coat, they are the exact same dog.
And wow, what a personality we're talking about. They are so smart, so alert, and super sensitive. The breed standard even says they're full of self-importance, and I can tell you, any Griffon owner will say that is 100% accurate. But don't think for a second they're just some delicate lapdog. No, this is a sturdy, compact little toy breed, usually around 8 to 10 pounds, with an attitude that just screams, yep, I'm in charge here.
Okay, so now we have to talk about the other side of the coin. We have to pivot from the breed's undeniable charm to something much, much more serious. That signature almost human face that was so deliberately bred for, it comes with a really significant cost to the dog's health.
And the word at the center of all of this is brachycephalic. It just comes from the Greek words for short and head. It's the term for breeds like the Brussels Griffon, pugs, French bulldogs. You know the look. It's that smushed-in face that's the result of intentionally shortening the bones in their skull, face, and nose.
Now, this anatomy leads directly to a condition called brachycephalic airway syndrome, or BAS, and it's basically a triple threat to their breathing. First, their nostrils are often so narrow that they can barely get air through their nose. Then, the soft tissue in the roof of their mouth is actually too long for their short face, so it hangs down and blocks their windpipe. And finally, just from the sheer effort of trying to breathe all the time, parts of their throat can actually get sucked into the airway, which just makes a terrible situation even worse.
And if that wasn't enough, it can get even worse. Some Griffons also have something called a hypoplastic trachea. That just means their windpipe is too small from birth. And this analogy just says it all. It's like trying to get all the air you need by breathing through a skinny little drinking straw. Imagine doing that all day, every single day.
But the problems with that head shape don't stop with breathing. It actually brings up a really scary question. What happens when the skull you've created is actually too small to even hold the brain?
And the answer to that question is a devastating neurological condition called syringomyelia, or SM for short. To put it simply, it's when these pockets of fluid form inside the spinal cord. That fluid puts pressure on the nerves, which causes damage, and very often, severe chronic pain.
And this doesn't just happen randomly. In Griffons, it's almost always caused by something called a Chiari-like malformation. I know, that's a mouthful, right? But what it means is that the back of their skull is just too small for their brain. So part of the brain actually gets squeezed out where it connects to the spinal cord, and this blocks the normal flow of spinal fluid. The hose pipe analogy here is perfect. Think of the brain as a tap that's always on, and that malformation is like putting your thumb over the end of the hose, which forces the fluid under intense pressure into the spinal cord itself.
And wow, look at this. This is the visual proof, and it's pretty shocking. On the left, you see an MRI of a normal dog's head. See how the brain fits nice and neatly inside the skull? Okay, now look at the Griffon on the right. You can literally see the brain being pushed out of the back of the skull and getting compressed. And those long white areas marked by the yellow arrows? Those are the syringes, the fluid-filled pockets inside the spinal cord that are causing all that damage and pain.
So, we've covered the head and the breathing. But the health challenges don't stop there. There's another really common inherited problem that owners need to be aware of, and this one affects their legs.
This one is called luxating patella. You hear about it a lot in small breeds, and it's definitely an inherited problem. Luxating is just a fancy word for dislocating. So what's happening is the dog's kneecap is unstable, and it can literally pop out of the groove it's supposed to slide in.
Now, vets have a really straightforward grading system to classify just how severe it is. It goes from grade 0, which is totally normal, all the way up. In the lower grades, a vet can pop the kneecap out, but it goes right back in on its own. But in the more severe grades, that kneecap can pop out just from normal movement, and eventually it can get permanently stuck out of place, which is what you see in grades 3 and 4.
And yeah, as you can probably guess, the higher the grade, the bigger the problem. All that instability leads to really painful arthritis and a funny kind of walk. You might see the dog do a little skip or hold its leg up for a step. For the more serious cases, surgery is often the only way to realign the kneecap and save the dog from a lifetime of chronic pain.
So, after hearing about all these pretty significant health risks, you have to ask, what can a responsible breeder or someone thinking about getting a Griffon even do? And that brings us to our last section, a guide to ethical breeding and proactive care.
The good news is the parent club for the breed, the American Brussels Griffon Association, takes these problems really seriously. They are pushing hard for breeders to do specific health screenings on any dog they plan to breed. The whole goal is to try and reduce these inherited diseases in the puppies down the line.
So what should a good breeder be testing for? Well, the ABGA says, at the absolute minimum, both the mom and the dad should be screened for eye problems, for hip dysplasia, and, of course, for that patelloluxation we just talked about. And here's the crucial part. These results are public. You can go look them up and verify them on the Orthopedic Foundation for Animals, or OFA, website.
And you know, vets don't mince words about this. This advice from Dr. Ian Mitchell is as direct as it gets. If a dog has grade 2 or higher luxating patellas, especially if it's in both knees, you just shouldn't breed them. It's really an ethical issue.
Okay, so what if you already own a Griffon? Well, how you care for them day to day can make a huge difference. Number 1, keep them at a healthy, lean weight. That's so important to reduce stress on their joints and on their already compromised airway. 2, because their windpipe is so fragile, always use a harness, never a collar. And finally, because they can't pant efficiently to cool down, you have to avoid heavy exercise, especially when it's hot or humid. You have to protect them from overheating. It can be life-threatening. So at the end of the day, the Brussels Griffon is a breed with so much charm, so much intelligence. But that cute, human-like face comes with a heavy, heavy burden of health problems. Problems that we created by selecting for the very look we find so appealing. So the real question for anyone thinking about getting one isn't just about whether you can love this dog, but whether you're truly prepared to manage the very significant challenges that come right along with it.